When I was a kid, I had an intense fear of ghosts and the supernatural. This fear has lingered even now, at 20 years old. My most vivid and terrifying experience happened when I was in elementary school, living in a house where my room was in the basement.
The basement was my domain, a place filled with my toys, Lego sets, and little kid trinkets. My brother and mom were often upstairs while I was getting ready for bed. One evening, as I lay in bed, I could hear them moving around, their footsteps muffled through the floor. A couple of lights were still on upstairs, casting a dim glow that reached my basement room. I could see the bathroom from my bed, the shower curtain hanging still in the slight draft of the house.
As I lay there, trying to fall asleep, something caught my eye. The shower curtain in the bathroom moved ever so slightly. My heart pounded as I watched it sway, and then, to my horror, a shampoo bottle fell over. I was already on edge, and this sudden movement nearly sent me into a panic. I didn't dare get up to check it out. Instead, I turned away from the bathroom, pulling the covers up to my chin, trying to ignore the fear that prickled at my skin.
I must have dozed off, but it wasn't for long. The sounds from upstairs told me that my brother and mom were still awake, watching TV. It was almost my brother's bedtime, which meant it couldn't have been too late. I woke up suddenly, my heart still racing from the earlier scare. As I blinked my eyes into focus, I noticed something odd. All of my toys, which I usually kept neatly under the bed, were scattered across the floor. Lego pieces, action figures, and other small toys lay strewn around the room.
Panic surged through me. Who had done this? I climbed out of bed, careful not to step on any toys, and ran upstairs. My mom and brother were both there, engrossed in the TV show. I asked them if either of them had come downstairs, but they both denied it, insisting they had been upstairs the whole time.
Since then, strange things continued to happen in the basement. We had an old box TV that would occasionally turn on by itself in the middle of the night. At first, this terrified me, but over time, I grew accustomed to it, rationalizing it as a quirk of old electronics. Another eerie occurrence involved a dusty old snow globe that sat atop a dresser in the basement. This snow globe, one of those that needed to be cranked to play its tune, would sometimes start playing its song on its own. No one had touched it in years.
The basement became a place of anxiety for me. I tried to avoid spending too much time down there alone, especially at night. My friends and I would occasionally dare each other to spend a night in the basement, but none of us ever made it through without being spooked.
One evening, years after the initial incident, I decided to confront my fear. I set up a makeshift camp in the basement, armed with a flashlight and my phone. I wanted to prove to myself that there was nothing to fear. The night started uneventfully. I watched a movie on my laptop, the familiar sounds of my family upstairs providing a comforting background noise.
Around midnight, the atmosphere changed. The air grew colder, and an unsettling quiet settled over the basement. I tried to focus on my movie, but my attention kept drifting to the bathroom. The shower curtain was still. I told myself it was just my imagination, but the fear was real. I could feel it gnawing at the edges of my mind.
Suddenly, the box TV flickered on. The screen was filled with static, casting an eerie light around the room. My heart pounded in my chest as I fumbled for the remote to turn it off, but it wouldn't respond. I had to unplug the TV to stop the noise. I sat back down, my nerves on edge, trying to convince myself it was just a coincidence.
Moments later, the snow globe on the dresser began to play its tune. The soft, haunting melody filled the room, its sound both beautiful and terrifying. I felt a chill run down my spine as I stared at the snow globe, watching it turn slowly. It had been years since anyone had touched it. My flashlight flickered, casting shadows that seemed to dance on the walls. I picked it up, aiming it at the bathroom. The shower curtain moved again, this time more noticeably. My breath caught in my throat as I watched, frozen in place. Slowly, the curtain pulled back, revealing the empty bathtub. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my flashlight and ran upstairs, my heart pounding. I told my mom and brother what had happened. but they just looked at me with a mix of concern and skepticism. They tried to reassure me, but I could tell they didn't really believe me. I spent the rest of the night in the safety of the living room, the familiar sounds of the house soothing my nerves. The next day, I went back to the basement to gather my things. The toys were still scattered, the snow globe silent, and the TV unplugged.
That night left a lasting impression on me. Even now, I can't explain what happened. Was it my imagination or something supernatural? I don't know, but the fear I felt was real. The basement, once a place of childhood play, had become a place of haunting memories. I've never forgotten the night the ghost of my childhood fears came to life.